What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to it.
Wheels is not the first time to tell about the various models of Soviet car alarms. Their devices, nuances, and observation of evolution allow you to better understand what lived the average motorist in our country. In the era of fathers and grandfathers, in the era of carburetors and crooked starters, in an era when for most citizens phrases climate, control or automatic transmission were understandable grammatically, but completely devoid of meaning in general. These voyages into the past are of particular interest due to the fact that car alarm systems of the period of the USSR and several early years of the post-Soviet turmoil were not clones of Western commercial products, but followed their own, often strange way of development, as they were produced in the mass as a byproduct of military enterprises. Most often in the studies of Soviet alarm systems, which fall into the editorial office of Wheels in the form of undisturbed time capsules, we pay attention to the curiosity of their design and specific logic of operation, but sometimes there are real gems when you have to admire and weep at the same time. And here we are for the first time in the arena. We present to your attention a real diamond in our collection, the most sophisticated and advanced security system produced in the USSR. This is not an alarm system, but exactly an Okran complex, in the very meaning that the installers of modern alarm systems put into it today. Most likely, a more advanced security system for the car in the USSR was not born. The device called Argus was the pinnacle of creativity of Soviet developers, after which domestic products were quickly and permanently displaced from the market imported alarms. Argus was produced by the Moscow-based Temp Research and Production Enterprise, a strategic defense enterprise established shortly before the Great Patriotic War and developing power and automation systems for the engines of our most famous military and civil aircraft, including all the latest MiGs and Sashkas. After 1991, the company began to fall apart rapidly due to the loss of funding and started various collaborations with civilian enterprises. For example, it was at Temp that injector injection was made for UFA engines for AZLK. As a side product, the Argus automobile security system appeared, with multi-stage protection, as the instructions stated. Temp's partner in this project was NIIPKH, the Research Institute of Applied Chemistry from Sergiev Posad, also a defense enterprise, today known for its quite civilian fireworks and traumatic pistol Zosa, among other things. Car security system Argus was produced from 1991 to 1995, and for its years it was impressive with advanced equipment. It included, in addition to the main electronic unit, a piezo siren, an autonomous battery in case of disconnection of the main one, a body oscillation sensor, 2 pyrotechnic cartridges of active protection. This is the most important thing, and we will talk about them in detail below, a set of buttons alarms for opening doors, if the car did not have standard ones, as well as a kilometer of wires and a generous amount of screws for installation. Without any irony, let's say, a set comparable to a good modern alarm system. However, about everything in order. The central electronic unit, it is, in fact, the heart of any car security system. It contains all the algorithms of its actions in various situations. Nowadays this block is miniaturized from year to year and often does not exceed the dimensions of a matchbox. In Argus it is a little bit smaller than a brick, while all its abilities can be placed in a chip the size of a grain of buckwheat. Nevertheless, the device is made very carefully, according to all the canons of the military industry. High-quality assembly, a thick layer of varnish, palladium-containing parts. The next element in the Argus equipment is a piezo siren. For those years such a thing was considered unthinkable coolness. Why? It's simple. The majority of Soviet car alarms were designed to be connected to the standard sound signal klaxon. Some, quite a few, models had a klaxon, similar to the standard, was included in the set. Accordingly, in those years, the alarm signal from the car sounded like a continuous humming, and the owner could not recognize the voice of his own car by ear. But the car protected by Argus sang with a characteristic quacking siren, and it was difficult to confuse it with something else. Another unprecedented for those years accessory in the kit, an autonomous battery, preventing the disarming of the alarm signal by simply removing the starter battery terminal, if, Of course, the squeaker itself was well camouflaged under the bumper or underbody, and was not afraid of breaking the wires of the intruder, otherwise the presence of backup power lost its meaning. 12-volt lead battery with a capacity of 1.6 ampere-hours was hermetically sealed and maintained by the electronics Argus, in a constantly charged state. In our case, however, the battery is completely dead. It did not survive 26 years of lying in a box on the shelf, and it is impossible to resuscitate it. Also included in the kit was a body vibration sensor, designed to track break-ins through windows and wheel theft. The sensor is a simple pendulum-type contact pair, with a contact weight oscillating on a flexible springy metal plate, in a clearly excessively large housing. Frankly speaking, what prevented to place this sensor inside the central unit, where there is more than enough empty space, is incomprehensible. Well, here we are getting to the most delicious thing, to the active security elements. There are two of them in Argus, different and triggered by a certain algorithm. The first active element had its own name, PAP-1, Aerosol Anti-Theft Cartridge. 2 electric ignition wires from it went to the alarm unit, which supplied them with 12 volts to initiate the cartridge. According to the description, after triggering it burns without sparks and flames, forming in the cabin an aerosol cloud of blinding and smoking action. Frankly speaking, the description is not very clear. It seems that PAP-1 emits tear gas during combustion. The second cartridge in the Argus kit is a smoke cartridge that fills the passenger compartment with a dense fog. The cartridge is mounted in a protective metal casing and is initiated in the same way, by supplying 12 volts to the electric igniter from the alarm unit. Both cartridges, according to the instructions, had to be installed in the passenger compartment under the seat. What was the algorithm of Argus operation? I must say, very logical and not stupid. In the security mode, the alarm system blocked the ignition when trying to turn the lock with a lockpick or coiled, gave audible signals after an authorized opening of doors, hood, or trunk, and also reacted by squealing to body vibrations. Removing the terminal from the battery did not help. In this case, the autonomous battery took action. If the intruder was persistent and patient and tried to start the engine under the Siren's wail, giving with the help of time wires. Plus, to the ignition coil, the noise squib was immediately triggered, and 5 to 10 seconds later, smoke. Agree, not so bad for 1991, eh? It's not bad in some respects even now. However, like all car security systems of those years, the most vulnerable point of the Argus was a hidden button for its activation. A deactivation, which replaced the familiar today key fob or smartphone and nullified all the efforts of the developers. In the simple salons of Giglio, Moskvici, and Volga, not to mention Zaporozhye, there were practically no places for the hidden location of the button, and therefore the hijacker's search for it within the radius of the driver's hands was easy. After the button was detected, the car became completely defenseless, and all its formidable pyrotechnics lost its meaning. And finally, a bit of practice. It was impossible not to find out whether the pyropatrons retained their taste for life after more than a quarter of a century of storage on the shelf. Surprisingly, they did. At least partially. We tried to initiate them in the order prescribed by the manual, but the wires were still mixed up, and the smoke cartridge went off first. The efficiency was at a very high level. The smoke was generated thick, dense, in a quantity capable of filling the interior of any car completely and in excess, depriving the car thief of the possibility to see anything, and, in fact, to breathe normally. But the aerosol cartridge did not impress too much. Whether it was intended to do so, or whether it had simply lost its properties due to old age, but it demonstrated only a soft fart, a half-meter jump across the table and inaudible smoke in a volume several times smaller than that of a specialized smoke cartridge. A check of the action and subsequent examination of the burnt-out device showed a complete absence of any tear effects. To summarize, it should be noted that the use of pyrotechnics for car security has always stirred the minds of both professional installers and manufacturers of security components, and amateur car owners, inclined to various kinds of craft on their knees. In the 90s and even in the early 2000s, many books and magazines for radio amateur samadellas almost without changes copied from each other drawing of pyrotechnic gas generator, combining in its self and noise effect, for its use in the alarm system. This design was a cartridge for a gas gun, on which it was necessary to wind a heating spiral of nichrome wire. When 12 volts were applied to this coil, the cartridge heated up in a few minutes and triggered, releasing a cloud of tear gas into the passenger compartment with a loud pop. According to the description, effective, but, despite the prevalence of the idea, we did not find information about the real use of such homemade devices in the literature and on the internet. The modern factory version of such active security also exists. However, the concept has changed over the years. Today, some private craftsmen dealing with exclusive authors' alarm systems offer their clients to install a pyrotechnic smoke generator as an additional protection barrier, but not in the cabin, but outside the car, in the engine compartment or under the underbody. However, the effectiveness of this method is not too great. The smoke in the cabin disorients the car thief directly, but the smoke outside is only aimed at attracting the attention of others to the car. In conclusion, the car alarm systems of the USSR were a fascinating blend of creativity and practicality, showcasing the ingenuity of their time. With features like sirens, cartridges, and tear gas, these systems were not only designed to deter thieves but also to provide a unique sense of security for drivers. While modern technology has evolved, the unconventional methods employed in these systems remind us of a time when innovation often took unexpected forms. Thank you for joining us on this journey through automotive history, and we hope you found it as intriguing as we did.